Welcome to the channel, everyone. Today I'm actually going to do an oil change on my Ranger 1500 here. Normally I think this is supposed to be done at like 6,000 miles along with the transmission and I think the front and rear diffs. My dash is screaming at me to change my oil for some reason. I have a little over 1,000 miles. I kind of want to do it early anyway. There is no break-in oil changes on this for some reason. I'm not sure. I guess maybe they're figuring it's more automotive-like, so that's why their intervals are so much more than like my Ranger 1000. But anyway, I think I'm just going to change the oil. I might do that front diff. I don't know if I'll video that or not, but I'm going to do the oil. I've got the Polaris oil change kit here. I went with the Extreme, the PS-4 Extreme. And it's a little more money, not a lot more money, but a little more money. I actually got this from Polaris. They were out of the other one. But I'll link on Amazon. They got a pretty good price on there for the other stuff. But Polaris was having a deal, so I went there. It's not hard. You're going to need a 17 millimeter socket. Like I said, it's not a hard job. It's just kind of seeing someone do it for the first time can kind of help out. You got to raise your bed all the way because your oil filter, I should have had a light, and your oil fill is down there. That's going to be fun filling that with oil. But anyway, you got to drain it first. I actually loosened up the oil fill and the oil check. I'm going to go under there. Got to be careful. There's a couple drain plugs down there. You don't want to do the transmission. The transmission uses an Allen wrench. The oil uses the 17 millimeter regular bolt. So I'm going to get under there. Got my drain pan under there. Got my wrench ready. I'm going to start draining the oil here. Okay guys, so the oil drain is, like I said, right here. The machine's warm. I ran it for a little bit. And I actually let it cool down a little bit. Anyway, it's up here, like I said, 17 millimeter. There's a few other drain plugs in some holes here, under here. That's the transmission drain plug. I've heard of people actually taking that one off and losing their transmission fluid. So get the right one. And these are not on there very hard at all. I think I'm going to get me a little glove just in case that's hot oil. I don't need a scalded hand. Oil looks fairly clean. I'm smelling a little bit gassy. But I'll let that drain. I think there's like 3 quarts in there, quite a bit more than like the 1000. So I'm going to let that drain. Okay, we're going to let that drain. Here's the drain plug. It's actually fairly long, but it's regular hex head. Again, 17 millimeter. The oil change kit comes with a new oil filter and actually 4.5 quarts. So there's quite a bit quite a bit of oil in there. I thought there's like 3 quarts in there. Okay, so the oil filter, right there, you can see it. That's next. Gonna take that off. Gonna make a mess down there. Boy, there's a lot of sand down there. Should have probably cleaned that up. Then the oil fill is right there. Again, it's gonna be hard to get to, but I take the filter off. Maybe I can get something in there to catch that fluid so it don't get that sand all dirty, but I'll get that off. Okay, there's the old filter out. That was on very tight. I had to use my oil filter wrench, and even then it was tight. It's part number 2521728. Now I always like to compare, make sure I got the same one. Another thing I like to look at is make sure the threads are cut into the oil filter. I've heard of people getting oil filters that the threads were not cut. So I just like to make sure your old rubber seal comes off with the old oil filter. I'm going to put a little bit of new oil on this gasket here. Stick it back on. So I will give a little bit of props to Polaris. You can see they got a little like wing thing there. That keeps the oil from running down the side of the engine when you take the oil filter off, which is kind of nice. Kind of nice little feature. I do have a towel down there. It caught a little bit of oil. Hopefully it's mostly on the towel. I can't say the oil fill is in that great of a position. You can see right there where my finger's at. I think I'm going to use this yellow fill thing here, and that should work out. So I'm going to get the new filter on. I'm going to go down, tighten the drain plug back up. 16 foot-pounds, I believe, is what the torque is on that. I didn't see no new seal for the drain plug or nothing. New little O-ring seal or anything like that. So I assume you just put it back on. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to start filling it with oil. Okay, so I'm putting my last quart of oil in here. This does take 4.25 quarts is what it takes. Not terrible getting it in here, but at least you can turn the jug sideways and dump it out. And I got that funnel I showed you. It's working okay, so it's very satisfying dumping old dirty oil out and installing or pouring in brand new fresh clean oil. I don't know why, it's just so satisfying. You feel good too. Actually, the machine runs better. I mean, it doesn't run better, but it feels like it runs better every time I do a bunch of maintenance on my stuff. I don't know, feels like it runs better. Anyway, I got that little quart to go in, or that 0.25 quart to go in. Then we'll fire this thing up, pressurize the system, look for leaks, and make sure we got the oil level correct. Okay, got all my oil in there. I'll put the dipstick back on. We're gonna fire the thing up, pressurize the system, look for leaks. Looks good. I don't see nothing leaking. Gonna let it sit there for a little bit. I'll check the oil level, make sure we're good there, and that should do it for an oil change on a Ranger 1500. Like I said, not that big of a deal. I know it makes me feel good having fresh, clean oil in this thing. When you check it, make sure you screw it in. You want to screw it in till it bottoms out. Then pull it out and give it a read. And that is right on. Yep. Right on what we need. Okay, so after your oil change, you're going to want to reset your oil life deal on your gauges. I don't have ride command, so what you do is you just turn the machine to the on position where the gauges turn on. You don't want to start the machine. You can't reset the oil life with the machine running. So you got 3 buttons over here. You hold the middle one. That's going to get you into the options section. You're going to toggle through here. You're going to come to oil life. You can see mine's already 100% because I already reset it. But what you're going to do is you're going to push that. It's going to start blinking. Yours is going to say 0%. Then you're going to push and hold down that center one, the center button, and it'll go back to this screen, this main screen here. And then if you go back, you'll notice that it's at 100%. So that's what resets that. You can't do it with the machine running. I know a lot of people try to do it with machine running. You can't do it with the machine running. You gotta just be on the on position where these gauges light up. So I guess, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. And like I said, an oil change on a Ranger 1500. See you guys.